Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Mind. Today we're joined by head men's basketball coach Bill Walker. And Bill, where do we even get started here with your season that just happened? I'll just ask you first, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Luke. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
It's beautiful weather here in Raleigh. Don't show it because it is raining, but we tell recruits it's sunny and 75 every day. So, no, it was a great season, and unfortunately, in this business, you have to turn the page and just kind of put it in your memory bank, and that's where I am. It's always going to be special. And, when we raise a banner and award the rings, we'll get to revisit it. But it's kind of I'm at the beginning stages. It's not like mourning. It's like celebrating, but you have to move on, and you have to try to be better next year.
Right.
And you have to. That just goes with everybody's sport.
Yeah. Well, we'll do a little celebrating today. We'll talk about this past season. Maybe talk about the season before that, where you guys just missed out on the GLVC tournament, finished in 9th place in the GLVC. That kind of go into what you guys were thinking for this past season.
Yeah, I think so. I've said many times and I didn't come up with this, but the fine line was really illustrated in the 2 seasons. Both Lavelle and Benassi were hurt, missed games, and played hurt several games in that previous year.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. I don't know that we win the league. I'm not saying that, but it's a different year. By the same token, I hope this is wood I'm knocking on, that we were pretty injury-free. Andrew Young missed one game due to that bug that everyone was playing with, and I'm sure we benefited from some teams having guys out. But that's just kind of the fickle nature of sports is, teams that avoid injuries and stay lucky, and that's what we were able to do.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go into this past season. We'll go all the way to your Vegas trip. Maybe your highlight win of the season was that West Liberty game. You take down number 3 West Liberty in Las Vegas, 89-78. Just take me back to that game and how you guys were feeling going into that game.
Well, just to start on a mathematical aside, since we are at science and technology, every team out there went 1-1.
Yeah.
That's almost impossible.
Right.
I think it was 8 teams out there. Everyone came away 1-1. So we had lost to St. Mary's the night before, but I knew that wasn't a bad loss. We played hard. We didn't shoot very good. They were very good.
They went to the tournament this year.
They were good. They were a good team. They were a legit good team. And we played West Liberty 2 years prior. They had some new guys. We had some new guys, obviously, but their style was the same. The truth of the matter is, if we hit free throws, we might have won that game by 20.
Right.
Because we just couldn't make 2 to ice it at the end and ended up 11, like you said. But that was maybe the first. Okay, we're on to something here. We've got a special year going because they were highly ranked, and the truth of it is we kind of hung on to that win all year and helped us stay ranked in the region so highly the rest of the year.
Yeah, and that game that you guys won started a 12-game winning streak. That's the longest winning streak in Missouri S&T history. You had the non-conference games after that. We went right into GLVC play and took down all those GLVC foes in there.
It was it was the mark of. And if we went game by game in that 12-game streak, it wasn't like we were blowing teams out. We had some, some comfortable wins sometime, but this team just found a way to kind of recalibrate and win the close ones. And then, as the year went on and that streak went on, we started getting ranked, and we really became a big game for our opponents.
Yeah.
So, it's a tribute to our guys to be able to kind of take team's best shot and still find a way to win because, it's such a cliche, but when you become the hunted instead of the hunter, it's a different mindset. But I think our guys embraced it.
And you guys became everybody's circle game on their schedule.
Absolutely.
Where they wanted to beat you, even at their place. I'm thinking, that Lincoln game that came down to the wire there at the end of the season, that Jury game, their senior day. I think you guys played 3 or 4 senior days in a row on the road, and that's just a tough thing to do in this conference.
That stretch was a tough one. We were, Lincoln is, and as they proved, were a very good team.
Yeah.
For us to win up there on a Thursday night, and then we came back and played a Drury team that I thought was pretty good. They didn't have a terrific year like I'm sure Chris wanted down there, but that didn't feel like a huge upset. It just felt like they had more in their emotional tank than we did.
Right.
But that's. Over the course of 30 games or so, that's going to happen. But we're going to enter the year next year like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's teams are going to – because we have, by not just Division II standards, but by college basketball and the current landscape that we're all living in, we have about as many returners as you could expect, the way things are going. So the scouting report's going to be out, and like we've circled back to, we're going to get everyone's best shot from day one.
Yeah, and we can talk about going into the GLVC tournament. You guys win as the 1 seed, obviously, but you take down McKendree in the first round, I should say, then fall to Lincoln in the second round. Kind of talk to me about that weekend up at Lindenwood.
It was fun. So we went in there. McKendree, I felt like McKendree, kind of to go back to last year, I felt like our win at McKendree was maybe one of the best wins of my head or assistant coaching career, because we had won 4 in a row going into McKendree. We'd beaten Umsel and Lewis at home in tough games. And then we won at William Jewell, at UIS, like a Monday, Thursday, and then McKendree on a Saturday afternoon. That's a hard place to win. And we went in there and won that one. I said, this may be the best 5-game streak I've ever coached, just because no one would have really thought poorly of us if we would have kind of had a bad one in one of those 5. Okay, you're due for one of those. But to just knock out all 5 of those was good, because McKendree had a strong team. So we do beat them in the first round of the tournament, play Lincoln in the second round. And I don't know, there's these cliches about it's hard to beat a team 3 times. And so we played them, and they were good. They beat us up on the boards. We came out first play of the second half, ran a little play for Andrew Young, and he makes a 3 and ties it. And I'm like, we're going to win. They're good, but we're going to find a way to win. Yeah. But to their credit, they just, every time we'd get a little run going, they'd get a putback, or they'd do something and get fouled because we just were out of position, and they just kind of beat us up. And to their credit, I wasn't sure, but I'd kind of been told, hey, win or lose, you're still the number 1 seed in the region. But that's how it goes. Yeah,
and we didn't know 100%, but you guys did end up being the number 1 seed in the Midwest region. And, a lot of drama happened that week. There was a tornado in Rolla during all of that as well. But we eventually end up at UIS. We played 2 teams up there, beat Malone, a close one at the end there, and then fall to Umsel to end your season. Kind of talk to me about that weekend up at UIS.
Well, the Malone game was they were a hot team. They were around 500 going into their conference tournament and beat 3 good teams, and they were playing very well, and we couldn't guard that little kid they had. We just
Simon Blair.
We couldn't keep in front of us. We tried. We ended up putting Andrew Young on him. Tried to use space and just make him shoot over you. And they had another kid that visited here that killed us too. The forward, I can't think of his name. He lit us up. Yeah. Maybe it's PTSD. I just block it out. But so we're down, and Lavelle picks up a bogus 5th foul, and just we had to play him with 4 because the game was slipping away from us. Then here comes Aiden Burns in off the bench, who really had been playing every game but hadn't really had a good game in a while, and just kind of got us going. And then Cam ended up with 30-something, and so we found a way to win that one. And then we played Umsel, and I would have liked to play him at home because we knew how close that those 2 teams were. Very evenly matched, different types of teams, but they were that was a hard fought, tough game that we lost. And it's just that's why it's March Madness. Anybody can win, and they were very they're well coached, they had good size, and
even when you played them here, it really came down to the end. There 88-84 was the final.
We scored on an OB. It was tied, and we scored on an OB play with about 7-8 seconds to go, and then they threw it away, and we had free throws or something. But it was a close game, and they've kind of been the standard bearer for the league in the last 5-6 years. And Bob Sunvold's really a good coach, and so it was always somebody. The team that wins the whole thing gets to end the year happy. Everyone else has to end on a loss by definition. And we played well into March and won a lot of games, but it was emotional in the locker room afterwards. But with time, you look back and you're proud.
Yeah, definitely. I want to talk about a couple key players for you. We'll start with Andrew Young, as you mentioned, first team All GLVC. He was an All Midwest first teamer as well. He was just a steady player for you this entire year. Over 16 points a game, 7.6 rebounds a game.
Took a huge jump between his freshman and sophomore year and his sophomore and junior year. And if I'm going to predict, he's going to take another jump. He's really working hard this summer and has basically 2-a-days with trainers and really trying to max out his career. And it's no secret he was in the portal and came back to us, and he turned down many lucrative offers he could have left for. So I think I said it at our banquet, but if anyone's jaded by the way college basketball is now. There is an example of how it used to be and what you want with a student athlete. You know, the definition of a student athlete, Andrew Young said, you know, it still exists here in Rolla. And so we're thrilled to have him back. And I don't want to put pressure on him, but I think he's going to have a monster year.
Yeah. Talk about your two transfers that came in as well, Lavelle Williams, Ryan Soroka. They were just steady for you the entire year. Lavelle, one of the leaders on the team, as well as Soroka.
Yeah, you know, Lavelle was here 3 years. He had his COVID years, the last of the COVID guys. And I try not to throw too many superlatives out about players because I've been lucky enough to do it for 30 years or so, and I've had a lot of good ones. I've never had a better player in terms of impacting winning than Lavelle. And it's the stuff you see and the stuff you don't see. Everyone saw his enthusiasm and how good he was and what a great two-way player he was. If he scored, he was really going to help you win. Because even if he didn't, his defense and his leadership and his, you know, all the intangibles, he'd help you win anyway. But the other thing is the stuff you don't see, like, hey, it's practice during midterms and guys are studying and up late and it's hard to get. He's going to make sure you have a good practice. So that's a void that we have to fill, not just the talent that we lost with him, but just that leadership of. Hey, I know it's not, we only got 4 or 5 hours of sleep last night and we don't really feel like practicing, but we're going to get something out of this anyway. You know, coaches can yell and scream only so much, especially me. I get hoarse easy. So we need players, and we will. I think guys will step up and do it, but we're missing that.
Yeah.
Soroka came in from Illinois Wesleyan, graduated from there, and came in here as a grad transfer. And those that are familiar with this area, Illinois Wesleyan's been dominant in that league at Division III, and he was used to winning.
Yeah.
And he assimilated immediately, culturally, athletically, scholastically. Everything was an easy transition for him. And he was a leader from day one, and so we'll miss both those guys.
Yeah. And talk to me a couple returners that are still on your roster. Cam Stovall, Benassi, Blaze Beauchamp. What are those three guys going to bring for you?
Well, starting the order you said them, Cam is, I think, one of the most talented guys in the league. We're going to play him a little more on the perimeter, but we don't go by the old 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We post up guards and we have bigger guys, play on the perimeter some. But in high school at Vashon, Cam was a kind of a key ball handler for them. He's not a point guard. I'm not saying that, but he can handle it in transition.
Yeah.
He can shoot it. His percentages for the year ended up okay from 3, and I think they'll be better next year. So we're hoping he has a consistently really good year. He had some games where he looked like the best player on the floor.
Yeah.
But some of his other games, he'd get in foul trouble, and it happens to everyone once in a while. But it happened to him too often, and it affected how many minutes he could play. He'll grow with that, and he'll be better. I think you said Benassi next. I think Benassi's the most likely candidate to take the leadership role from Lavelle. He's tough, and he's a really good player, and he took coaching and really made a jump from his sophomore to junior year. He was a little wild. He's still a little wild, and I want him to be a little wild. But his assist-to-turnover ratio his sophomore year was not great, and he understood that it needed to be better, and it was one of the best in the league this year. He can score more, and I think he will, and so I think he'll have a big year. His first team all defense, but I think he can be one of the best guards in the league.
Yeah.
And Blaze was another guy, a little bit like we talked about Soroka. Blaze came in. He ended up coming off the bench for us, but he was a key player. We wouldn't have won a lot of games that he helped us win. He's a great three-point shooter. The thing that makes it hard is everyone knows he's a great three-point shooter, so he comes in there with a target, and they're trying to really not help off him and make it hard for him to get shots off. Yet he still found a way to do it and shot a pretty good percentage. And I know he wants to prove, and we hope and think he will prove that he's not just a shooter. He can make plays and he can defend, and he's a terrific guy, and we love having him here.
Looking ahead to next season, your former assistant Michael Eisman got a well-deserved promotion to South Dakota School of Mines as a head coach, and you bring in a familiar face as your new assistant, your son Vince Walker. Talk to me about that whole process.
Yeah, he's someone that I've kind of wanted to come here for the last couple times I've made hires, but I got lucky with both Michael and before him Darion Reddick.
Yeah.
They've both been great and moved on and advanced, and both have, well, like you said, a well-deserved promotion. And Darion's a assistant at SIU in Carbondale, and Michael's now the head coach at South Dakota School of Mines. So that's kind of the nature of the business, especially when you have some success as people move on. Yes, Vince is my son and was a very good college player, but he's also had exposure. He's been a Division I assistant at Abilene Christian. He worked for Kim Anderson at Pittsburgh State, and Kim's a very well-known, respected guy in the state of Missouri. He spent the last 2 years in our league at Southwest Baptist and had a great experience there. Just felt like the timing was right for him to do that. And I don't know whether it's going to be 1 year or 10 years. You just never know in this business. But he's his own man, and he'll be really good at some of the stuff that he'll be able to do better than me. For instance, work guys out for 2 straight hours, and he can still snap chest passes off and demonstrate. And he's was a very good shooter, and I think he picked up ideas from the programs we just talked about that'll really help us.
Yeah. I want to talk about maybe your playing career a little bit. You came here in 2019 as a coach, but you played under Billy Key 84 to 87. Billy Key, obviously the most wins in program history as a coach. Kind of talk to me about your experience under him, one of the more legendary coaches here in Rolla and the state of Missouri.
We just lost Coach Key's wife at 99 this past year, Naomi Key. They were both just wonderful human beings. Now he had a fiery side.
Yeah.
He was a terrific, even-keeled guy off the floor, but he wanted to win. He was competitive, but he never let that competitiveness outweigh the academic mission of this university. And I'd like to think I'm the same way, and Dale Martin was before me. Coach Key was a Rolodex of sets and plays, and we could do this, and they're doing that, we can do this. He'd coached a long time and was very good at adjustment. And so I feel fortunate. My last year was his last year as a coach. He went on and was athletic director for a while after that, but I see his name, inscribed on the court every day when we go out there. So I hope that I'm making him proud with the program and appreciate him giving me the opportunity to come here and play.
Yeah, and I mean this past season, the last question I'll ask you about this season, but 25-6, the exact same record as the 95-96 team. That was the best team in Missouri S&T history, but you guys just go out and tie that record this past season.
Yeah, I remember that team. That was, and those guys still are involved with us, and I'm actually playing in a charity golf event with Scott Rush, who was on that team today, along with Tim Hudwalker, who was a teammate of mine. So it's been neat to reconnect, with the guys I played with, and certainly the 96 team. We have one of the players on that team, a Hall of Famer, Jeff Kokel. His son, Oliver Kokel, is going to play for us next year. So there's connections everywhere. They were a very good team. They kind of reflected the times like we reflect our times. They were bigger and stronger. They had Jamie Brigham, who's in the Hall of Fame, and Kokel, and a guy named Mark Tompkins. They had bigger true post guys that were a handful, and they had good players at every position. But I remember that team. That was a terrific team.
Yeah, and then looking ahead to next year, I mean, you guys will have a very similar conference schedule, just flip around home and away. What are you looking forward to with your roster and the schedule coming up?
Yeah, that's funny how it has. This is there's been a lot of turnover in the GLVC, but this will be an exact mirror of last year. It's a balance in terms of. We talked about staying healthy and the importance of that, but at the same time, if you want to try to improve, you have to practice.
Yeah.
You have to go live and risk guys flying in there, and and you have to be judicious with it. But what I'm looking to do is trying to be better. Is trying to keep the let's go 1-0 today mentality of last year's gone. We're going to try to max this thing out and win as many games. And I look at I don't know, our schedule's getting close to finish, but it's not quite finished yet. But we're going to try to play traditional powers in Division II and see how we stack up early with them. And we've got the roster, I think, again, knocking on wood, if we stay healthy, and the depth to do it. And you kind of have to have that to go against, because you can get humbled, and you have to have the resiliency to win or lose play. And that, again, even though we played and beat West Liberty right before Christmas and so had a little break after that, we didn't really, and throughout some of the wins you and I've talked about and so far today, we didn't come back and practice and act giddy and act like we don't have anything. So that's a tribute to those guys and how we were coaching.
Yeah.
We have to take that mentality to the next level this year.
Yeah, and I mean, talk about that buy-in your players had this past year and what you're kind of looking forward to this next year.
It was the best. And again, I'm trying to, be sincere with my words. It was the best team closeness I've had as a coach. And again, we're talking about 30 plus years.
Yeah.
I didn't have one kid come in my office and complain about playing time all year. And when I say complain, it's not necessarily it doesn't have to be negative. Some kids come in just sincerely, hey, coach, what can I do to play more?
Yeah.
And that's a fair question for anyone to ask. And now they have to be willing to listen to what I tell them and, well, here's what you need to do and try to go out and do it if they wanted to play more. But I think guys kind of understood the value of as we said in day one, if we hang a banner, everyone gets an equal part of it. If we get rings, everyone gets the same size ring. So we haven't talked about Michael Onunkwo and Jack Saar, two guys that didn't get to play a lot, but were big chemistry guys and just as important as teammates. So we're going to need that same look. It's better to all be a piece of something big than have my little piece of something that's not successful.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're trying to get. And I keep spewing cliches at you, but the good teams or the bad teams, nobody leads. The good team, the coaches lead. The great team, the players lead.
Yeah.
So that's what we're hoping for.
Well, Coach, the last thing I'll ask you, I know you hate talking about yourself, but you were named the Midwest Coach of the Year this past year. Talk to me about that award that other coaches voted on you
Well,
for.
I'd like to be humble about it, but it was very special, and it really was. I like to think I change every year. There's a phrase in genetics, but it's also, science, but it's also true in coaching, adapt or die.
Yeah.
So I don't, I've always done it this way. And if you come in my office, one of my favorite sayings I have a sign is, the last words of a dying company are, we've always done it this way. So we try to adapt a little bit and do new things. But at the end of the day, that award was won by the players.
Yeah.
I've changed coaching and trying to get better, and I'm going to try to be a better coach next year. But that award was because we had good players that got it done. And let's also mention the fans. That's why hosting regionals and hosting home games and conference play and all that. That's why it's such a plus and a benefit and an advantage to have that, because we're starting to get the crowds like we're capable of getting in this town with this university, and in this part of the country they like basketball. So that's our job, is to try to give them a good product to go out there and look at.
And your guys play off that, right? I mean, we had huge crowds this year, record-setting attendance, and your guys just play off that at home.
Yeah, I'll go back to Dale Martin. He talks about how some teams just they're very businesslike and home away, they're not that different. He's talking about your team really feeds off that.
Yeah.
Like you said, they were a pretty emotional team. Lavelle was emotional. Benassi was emotional. Blaze. We have guys that really appreciate the student student involvement, and we reciprocate. Our guys are going to football games. They don't miss a football game, and went to a couple of away games and attend the other sports here, and I think that's a pretty good communal experience we've got going here.
Yeah. Well, Coach, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it. We'll catch you next season, and we'll have a chat around then.
Deal. Go Miners.